Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Hope you're all well. Today I'm going to talk about my intercalated degree. I've had so many requests about this and so many questions about my intercalation, so I have some time today. I'm going to talk about it. Before I start, can we just take some time to appreciate this top that I'm wearing? I know from up here it just looks like I'm wearing a navy blue top, but guys, have a look at this. Look at this embroidery. I mean, what? As well as that, so that's on both sleeves, as well as that, it's got this embroidery at the bottom here, which I think is something spectacular. Anyway, let's get going. So first, let me talk about what intercalation is, because I'm sure some people don't know what intercalation is. Intercalation is taking a year out of medical school to do something else. 99% of people will take a year out to do another degree. The other 1% will take a year out to do, to give birth to children because they got pregnant, to take some time out of medicine because, their mental health is suffering, their health is suffering, to look after a family member, to take time to revise because they failed, and all that sort of thing. And I had friends that intercalated for all of the above reasons. The reason I intercalated was because I wanted to do another degree. I intercalated in 2014, and that was between year 4 and year 5 for me, and I intercalated in microbiology. I did a master's in microbiology at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and the University of Cambridge, and I'll explain a little bit. The first 6 months of my degree were at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, where I learned all the theory, all the lab-based stuff. And then the second 6 months were at the University of Cambridge, where I did some, research, which was part of my degree. At the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine in London, so cool. I really had fun doing this degree. I was such, and still am, a bug geek. I really enjoy learning about pathogens and, bacteria, viruses, prions, all that. I really enjoy learning about it, and I wanted to learn about everything there was to learn about all these things. The genetics, the life cycles, the mechanism of infection, how to treat them, how to diagnose them, and all that sort of thing. And this degree had all of that and more. So I really enjoyed my time there. So Cambridge is such a nice place. I was at Downing College, which was really, nice and quiet, I thought, compared to all the other colleges as far as I saw. It was right in the city, which meant that during break times and stuff, or when I was waiting for my experiments to run, I'd walk to the city and, go see loads of nice stuff in Cambridge. So if you've never been to Cambridge, I would highly recommend it. Just as a tourist, just to visit all the colleges and stuff and see the city and go punting and all that sort of thing. It's really cool. Intercalation is not mandatory. Well, let me explain a little bit further. I went to medical school in Norwich, and for me it wasn't mandatory to do intercalation. My medical degree was a 5-year program, and I didn't have to intercalate to do another degree. If you find yourself in a London university, then some of the courses are 6 years long, and that's because they incorporate an intercalation year, which means that as well as getting the MBBS or MBCHB or whatever else that they get in London, they also get a BSc most of the time. I think it's not very common that people intercalate to do a master's degree, but certainly in London the courses are 6 years long because you get an additional degree, medical science or whatever else that you can get. The commonest question I get when I say I've got a master's degree in microbiology is, how on earth were you able to complete a master's degree in 1 year? Did you have a BSc in microbiology or some science thing before that? And the answer to that question is no, I didn't have a BSc. However, so technically after the 3rd year of medical school, you have a degree in medical science or something, a bachelor's degree, a BSc in medical science. And so if for a random reason you keep failing your exams after 3rd year, then at the end of 5 years or 6 years or whatever, you are awarded a BSc in medical science or something equivalent. And I have 2 friends that unfortunately that happened to, and they didn't pass the exams for medical school, and so they passed up to year 3 but kept failing year 4 and year 5, and so they they weren't allowed to continue with their medical degree, and they were awarded a BSc in medical science. So that technically meant that I had a BSc before I started my master's degree, but certainly I didn't have anything that was lab-based or anything that was scientific or anything before I did this master's degree. So the application process to both universities was straightforward. I didn't have to apply through UCAS. I applied through both the various universities separately, and it's the same process though. Even though you're not going through UCAS, you have to input your grades, your academic transcript, you have to have references, you need to have a personal statement, you need to have an interview and all that sort of thing, and you need to convince the interview panel that you are academically able to do this and you are enthusiastic about the subject and all that sort of thing. And I was able to obviously convince them on both occasions, and I was able to do my degree. So right off the bat, I want to say that intercalating and doing a master's degree is not very common. Intercalating anyway, at the time when I intercalated in 2014, wasn't very common. In my university, only 10 people intercalated, and of those 10, only 3 of us did master's degrees. So the commonest thing when you're intercalating is you do a BSc and you enter into the final year of whatever BSc program you are wanting to do. So my friend did an intercalated BSc in English, and she entered into the final year of the 3-year English degree at whatever university she went into, and that's how she did her intercalated year. For master's degrees, it's a little bit different because you'll find that there are standalone master's degrees or there are research master's degrees, and it just depends on what it is that you want to do. I lived in North Lodge in Tottenham, which I've blogged about. I'll put the link in the description bar about my complete review of living at the North Lodge. So with my master's degree, I've done a whole ton of other things with it. I got published, I submitted loads of different abstracts, I presented research at different conferences, I entered my research into different competitions, and I won different prizes, and some of these prizes were for money. For example, I won £1,000 here, £1,000 there, and I was able to pay for, I guess, my living costs and stuff like that with all my winnings. So I definitely recommend that if you do any degree, not even a master's degree, even your bachelor's degree, if you've done a bachelor's degree, an intercalated degree, then milk it for all it's worth, right? Enter it into all kinds of competitions, present it and all that, because in the long run it looks so good on your CV. I spoke about this on my last video, but when I went for my interviews in Obs and Gynae, I was able to talk about my research, which I've done, and I was able to talk about all the conferences I've presented at, and the interviewers seemed to like it, so I guess that's a good thing. The pros of intercalating are multitude. I don't like looking at things in the sense of pros and cons, because I think if you want to do something, then just do it, and you can just correct your course afterwards if it's something that you really wanted to do. But anyway, for the purposes of this video, the pros of intercalating are, as I said, multitude. You meet so many new people, you get a degree at the end of the year, you learn about something that you want to learn about, you see the world differently. I feel like you see the world differently after you've intercalated, because you know that, outside of the sphere of medical school, there is life outside of, your university, life outside of medical school, and this is an opportunity for you to see that. For me, I was able to live in London and go to LSHTM, but I was also able to go to Cambridge and experience Cambridge as a student. As well as that, you do so much with your intercalated degree if you're diligent and if you work hard and all that blah blah blah. The cons of intercalating are, I guess, time and money. Time in the sense that you're delaying your graduation from medical school by a year. Your friends are going to be doing, the final things that they need to do to become doctors, whilst you're out here trying to struggle to do an intercalated degree. So your friends will graduate earlier than you, but that's not even a con in my book, because at the end of the day, you're doing something that you want to be doing. And as well as that, you'll find that at the end of Foundation Year 2, which is where I am now, people will take time out of medicine. People will do other things, and so in the grand scheme of things, you're going to catch up with these people anyway. As well as that, you're going to be a doctor for the next 40-50 years probably, so you have so much time. What's the rush to becoming a doctor, you know? But anyway, some people look at it as a con. So the con is you will graduate a year later than your friends, which I don't think is a real con. The next con, which I think is the biggest con, especially in 2018, is the money. It costs a lot of money to do an additional degree. Not only that, if you're intercalating and doing an additional degree in a different city, then you have to think about accommodation, you have to think about travel. For me, medical school was in Norwich, but my intercalated degree was at LSHTM, which was in London and Cambridge. And so I had to live in London for the duration of my degree, and I decided not to live in Cambridge. I decided to travel to Cambridge because I think it worked out cheaper at the time, but it was so stressful in terms of trying to think about where to get the money. So I will talk about, you know, funding in a different video, but in total it costs about £20,000 to do this degree, which is £20,000 that I did not need to spend. You know, this is a degree that I did not need to have, but I wanted it. This was a completely selfish thing to do, but in the end it was worth it, I think. But yeah, the money is something that you really have to think about, especially now that going to medical school costs £9,000. You know, this is an additional cost that you probably do not need in your life. But yeah, definitely weigh it up if you're thinking about intercalating. As well as that, it was a hard year, guys. It wasn't a DOS year. I was anticipating that I'd have so much time to work, so much time to revise and prepare for medical school finals, but I didn't have any of that. It was a 12-month degree. I started in September and I finished in September. In fact, I finished the degree on Friday and I was back in medical school starting final year of medical school on Monday. So I had absolutely no time to even breathe during this degree. It was so difficult. It was the hardest I've ever worked in all of my life. Absolutely, forget medical school. Medical school is nothing compared to this degree. It was so hard. I thought I was going to be able to work, continue working as a healthcare assistant to fund my degree and to fund my housing and all that sort of thing, but I was not able to work. My degree was completely 12 months long, and at some point, especially when I started at Cambridge, I was going in every single day, 7 days a week, because I was working with viruses and cell cultures and stuff, and I had to tend to them every day. But it was difficult. It's not an easy year, believe me. That's it, guys. That's all I had to say about my intercalated degree. Sorry it was a rambly, sort of an unstructured thing. If there's any questions, then as always, comment in the comment section and I will answer them in my next video, or I'll answer you specifically on your comment. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.